When I just started doing what I liked as opposed to trying to do what I thought people wanted, it kind of clicked.
Years old, you were washing dishes in the kitchen. Now you're here. You own a bunch of kitchens.
Yeah.
How'd you do it?
One day at a time, really, one step at a time. I was in high school and I knew all the kids with the cars, got the girls. Got a job washing dishes because I wanted to buy a car. Had a major accident the very first night I ever worked there. Was burned fairly badly. There was a rush and an adrenaline thing that I had never experienced before in a busy kitchen on a Saturday night, and I just was hooked. The chef took me under his wing and I was off to the races, I guess, at a very young age.
You have a number of very hot restaurants here in New York. You're opening up Beauty in Essex in Las Vegas and in Hollywood later this year. The barbecue sauce, the Rattler. You've got a music label. Do you remember the moment that you felt like, I've made it?
No, I'm not there yet.
You're not?
No, definitely not. I got big plans. You know, I opened my first restaurant in 1999 and that was a failure and closed. And then opened a follow-up restaurant after that in Brooklyn and it was a failure and it closed. And then I opened Stanton Social, changed kind of the way I do things. I just started doing what I liked as opposed to trying to do what I thought people wanted. It kind of clicked. This year I'm opening 3. And the cookbook and the sauce and the record label. So it's all happening now, but I've got like stuff that I want to do way beyond
Tell me, what else?
Well, more restaurants for sure. London, Southeast Asia, DC, and Boston and Miami.
What's the secret to being a successful chef and restaurateur these days?
There are a million options for people. You can't just wear the chef hat. Hospitality, I think, is really trumps all. In my restaurants, we practice a thing called hospitality karma. Like, just treat people the way you want to be treated when you go out. And of course, you have to have great food.
How important is social media?
Social media is incredibly important. It's everything.
How do you make it work to your advantage?
It's such a competitive marketplace here, especially in New York, that just awareness, raising awareness of what you're doing and keeping your social media content fresh also forces you to keep everything else about your establishment fresh. I have a great team of chefs and it's a collaborative effort. We're constantly creating new dishes so that we can also drive social media content, right?
It seems like the concept for Vandal takes into consideration social media, whether that's intentional or not. I've seen the pink statue in the front.
Icy grape.
Icy grape. I have seen that everywhere on social media from the moment you opened.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's
Did
totally
you think
crazy.
about that when you put that in the entrance?
I like to take responsibility for everything that works. But that bunny rabbit was my partner's idea. And I actually was like, what are you thinking? But once I saw the renditions of it, I was like, I think this could work. And then once it got installed, like just, wow, like people love it. And it's icy grape. We kind of like looked at 1970s here in New York when street art was really considered a misdemeanor crime. One of the things we learned was that icy grape was a coveted color of the Krylon spray paint. It's like if you get your hands on a can of icy grape in that street art community even today, it's like, whoa.
All of your restaurants have something special about them. Whether it's Beauty in Essex, they serve champagne in the bathroom, or here we're sitting in the Secret Garden, there's something special, something quirky.
I cook what I like to eat and I build places, you know, and I have a partner who also has a lot to do with the creative process. The sense of discovery, I think, is something that we really love.
We didn't even get to the fact that you're on Chopped.
What are you anyway?
I don't know. What's Jeffrey's?
You're like some ghost pirate?
I'm myself. That's scary enough.
That is scary enough.
Started doing that show in 2008. It's pretty much always the #1 rated show on the network for years now.
Chris, what do we have?
I made a chocolate cake with bourbon, watermelon, milkshake sauce.
Typically, the first question that people want to ask me is, who's the biggest jerk on the panel?
And what do you tell them?
Even though it sounds like a sellout, I have such a great relationship with everybody. I usually say me. I'm the biggest jerk on the panel. It's an interesting process, that show. It takes a long time to shoot. It's like a 10 or 11 hour shoot day.
10 hours per episode.
Per episode, yeah. Because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't air. And then they want to know if it's real, which it is. Meaning, do the contestants know what's in the mystery baskets? They do not. Is 20 minutes, really 20 minutes? It is. Which is a reason why I love doing the show. It's not scripted.
Have you ever seen a challenge that you're so glad that you're not the one doing it?
I've competed on the show several times and it's hard. So those are actually good moments because it kind of makes you realize what they're going through. You can just tell when a contestant gets an ingredient that they've never, ever seen before and they just don't know what to do.
What's your advice to people who want to be on that show?
Your biggest version of you, like personality-wise, I think it will help you. But ultimately it's about cooking, so you gotta have chops.
What's been the most difficult lesson you've had to learn through all of this?
It could be really heartbreaking when someone doesn't have a good experience. When we are dealing with so many guests every night, 1,400 guests on a Saturday night, you know, if 3% of those tables don't get a perfect meal or a perfect experience, It's just, it's like it doesn't matter that the other 1,350 people are having a great time. It's very personal. And I think it's just, the lesson is you can't rest on your laurels. Every day you gotta just work, try harder, try harder, try harder.
You ready for some rapid fire questions?
I think so.
Least favorite food?
Bananas. Anything that turns that color after sitting on your counter for a couple days, it's just, you know, when they get brown and black and gross. Like,
Are there any bananas on any of your menus?
sometimes my pastry chef will sneak one on when I'm not looking, but not typically, no.
Favorite food?
Peanut butter.
Savory or sweet?
Savory.
Number one ingredient you think will be like the next kale?
Mustard greens.
What's a grain that we haven't really heard a lot about that you think could be the next big grain?
I don't think I ate grains until like 2 years ago. Or vegetables for that matter.
You're not a vegetable guy?
I am now, but it took me like 40 years to actually embrace them.
Favorite artist?
There's a band called the Deftones out of Sacramento, California that I love very much.
What's your dream meal?
Just like tacos on the beach in Mexico.
What do you do to unwind?
So I love the sport of boxing.
What's your signature move?
I got a wicked left hook.
Can I see that?
No.
Okay.